And power in Factorio is rather simple. You have a offshore pump that goes into boilers that you use, you pump fuel into, and it goes into steam engines. You can do this in many different combinations. One of the most optimum combinations and widely used is 14 boilers goes into 10 steam engines. Now, early game, you want try to stick with a 2-to-1 ratio until you get up to a certain point. But the steam engines, obviously you need to cover them with power poles. They will blink, which might be confusing. They blink because they're not actually sending power out to anything. To remedy this, simply place something that consumes power, like a lab or an inserter or a miner, and they will stop blinking as they're supplying power. To supply fuel into the boilers, simply get a line of wood or coal and feed it with inserters. That way it will get fed and hopefully you won't run out. Be careful. Running low on coal might cause the power to cascade downward and cause your base to lose power. So just be aware of that. Other issues with the power is you don't need a full line of steam engines to start with. Build 1 or 2, get your base going, get some research done, and continue building onto a system. So I recommend, leaving some space between the boilers and the steam engines to allow you to walk through it, as well as deliver materials into it. This setup here I favor, as you can add a second column or row, if you will, of steam engines right below this. So you just space this out, you go down, and you have a second row of 14 boilers and 10 steam engines, which doubles the amount of power you have without adding extra lines and extra lines for coal and inserters and power. So that's a quick look at the early game steam power. Be aware that these things produce a lot of pollution, and biters do love to destroy your power. So just be on the lookout for that. Again, early game, you don't need to start with 14 boilers and 10 steam engines. Build a couple boilers and a steam engine. As water flows into the boilers, it will heat up depending on how much is being used by your steam engines. So this is the only one on right now because I'm not actually drawing a whole lot of power. As you draw more power, as these things produce more, they will actually consume more of that heated water, causing more and more and more of your boilers to click on until it reaches the end. Exceeding this ratio will cause your water temperature to drop at the end. So the water going into the steam boilers or steam engines won't be 100, which is where you want to be. So watch your ratios. Make sure that at the end, the first boiler or the first steam engine gets temperature at 100. Otherwise, you're not going to be at your peak performance.